Yeah. Alright, let's get to work. Well, shit. Alright. No kidding. It's been a long time, hasn't it? To think that it's already been a year. Another year, another review. Now I'm back. Glad to meet you again, old friend. I think we're just missing something a little special. Something that'll really make this stand out. Alright. This is more like it. Okay. I think we're gonna need a little title card. How about something like this? Yeah, that works. Anyways, we did talk about Yakuza 1 last year, so I guess it only makes sense we talk about the second one this year. Yeah, this is my copy. It's quite interesting. I'm gonna tackle it the same way I did the last one and kind of experiment a little bit with the layout, but you'll see what I mean. Honestly, it's impressive that just like in a year it took me this long to get around it, you know? It took the game a year between sequels, and I guess that's just why I did it like this. I have a lot more positive things to say about this one, but it's not free of issues, you know what I mean? So I guess I'm still bad at transitions, or, you know, intros to things, so roll that funny little card. So our story begins with a flashback to the early 80s. Yeah! Fun times, but not fun times, because we're looking at a big incident. Skipping ahead here, this is something that Shimano and Kazuma did. You know, this is that thing Kashiwagi hinted at in the first game. This is the Jingguan Massacre. I apologize in advance if I butcher the name. It's really fucking hard to say. But we'll be cutting back to this event here and there as the story goes on, and as more coincidentally gets revealed. But for now, all we really see is just a lady and her baby being rescued. Cool. We then see that Kamurocho has gone to the dogs, as Yuya puts it. When he's not on screen, the character should be saying, "Where's Kiryu?" and wondering what he would do in the situation as something big's about to unfold. After that, we cut to a dream of events from the first game as we find out that Kiryu has some actual PTSD from what happened. Homeboy wakes up in a cold sweat as Haruka comes to check on him. Honestly, I think that's a great start to introduce your main character. I really feel it works, and we don't really get this kind of thing again, or even in many other games in general. After this, Kiryu and Haruka decide to go pay their respects to the graves of Nishiki, Yumi, and Kazuma after they died in the last game. If you want, you can have a recap of events, but I don't need it. During our praying time, Terada shows up, despite it being dangerous since every chairman in history has a bounty on his head in like 5 seconds. He's come to ask Kiryu for help with the Omi Alliance in Kansai, as they're having a big meeting and tensions are starting to get a little high, just saying. There may be a war, maybe not. I don't know. Terada then gets shot by some Omi-goons, and we get our tutorial. We beat up some random mooks, and Terada takes a bullet for Kiryu. With his dying breath, he asks him to take care of the Omi business in his stead. Kiryu is of course worried as shit, knowing that what happened last year is going to start again. But he does it anyways. We then cut to the Tojo HQ as we see how Terada's death is already starting to tear the clan apart. We see Yayoi Dojima, wife of Sohei Dojima, from the last game, that guy who died. She's taken the mantle of chairman/chairwoman until they can find a new one. She wants to continue Terada's wish of creating an oath with an Omi and stop the war from even happening. And Kiryu once again chimes in and reiterates that he wants to help, especially since he still feels responsible for Dojima's death, taking on Nishiki's responsibilities in that I couldn't help him so I feel bad, that kind of way. Now we're off to Kansai to talk to the Omi. Not before visiting somewhere very important. Kiryu feels a chairman's needed, so we need to go stop and see Daigo, Dojima's son. As when Kiryu knew him, he was a pillar of what the Tojo stood for. Now he's just a punk raising hell to another caliber. After a giant rat race in Kamurocho, we find that he's been attacking people in clubs and take him outside, teach him a lesson. He's being a punk-ass bitch for not trusting anyone. After teaching him to step the fuck up and that we might die, we asked Daigo to stay here, but he insists to go after the Omi, since they screwed him over years ago, and now our adventure really starts. Now I feel like while we have some time, I think this is a great little bit to talk about how combat works. So, if you're playing the PS2 versions, you'll feel right at home. It's basically the same as it was in the first, and it just gets better. For one, a thing that I noticed, you have a lot more moves than you had at the beginning. In fact, you even keep some of the ones that you had, getting through upgrades, which is great, and, a thing I really feel the series has a problem with. Yeah, most other games in general have this issue too, but it's a lot more noticeable when you play Yakuza. Also in the PS2 version of Yakuza 2, Kiryu doesn't hit like a fucking puppy every single time. Another issue that these games have. Like, Kiryu can forget, but he shouldn't be completely worthless. Outside of those gripes, not many changes here. Punch, kick with triangle on PS4, as you should. Grabs a circle, and heat actions, which some of these get more absurd than before. And not to mention, thank Christ, the entire gauge doesn't deplete every time you do a heat action. This is a problem in every single game, and it's such a nuisance, since you have like 500 bars, which is dumb, and it's all gone in an instant. I hate it. Some of the same parts of combat can be said for the remakes too, since it uses the Dragon engine introduced in 6, aside from a few tweaks. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but let's just discuss it anyways. Like in 6, enemies can do high and low guards, but so can you, instead of just a universal block. It's a hit-and-miss mechanic, and on paper it sounds cool. It causes more complications, as for when an opponent blocks Kiryu, he basically gets parried and bounces off like homeboy just pulled off the Daigo. Outside of that, and enemies flying everywhere with the ragdoll, hand-to-hand combat is probably the best it's been in Kiwami 2. And I'm sure that's not even really that much of a hot take. It's so fluid and easy to get into that you don't even mind the little nitpicks and intricacies. It's that fun. Something also new to the fray in these games are assists. So there are certain characters around the city that you can recruit, and they'll help you out in a fight. This is either through side quest or just random people on the road, because why not? So whenever you get around to the area where you found this character, there's a chance that they can do a quick loop QTE, and you activate a powerful heat action, which helps you get a leg up or even finish a fight if it's just one guy. Yeah, it uses up heat still, but it's not even worth using a move on these guys, so I mean, it's fine. Like, I don't mind it. I mean, some of them are really funny. Outside of that, not much else. Other than that, Komaki can still teach you moves just like last time, as well as getting massages. Yeah, so there's a massage place in both Kamurocho and Sotenbori. And I believe the one in Sotenbori is more of an acupuncture place. But they host moves when you reach a certain level, and whichever massage you get determines what you get. Which, speaking of levels, let's talk about that since it corresponds with combat too. So in the original Yakuza games, they use a traditional XP bar, which you get from fights, eating food, side quests, yada yada yada, whatever. You get it. Kiwami 2 does this as well, but in a different way. Borrowing more stuff from 6, your experience is dictated by these weird little orbs. You'll see them in the corner all the time whenever a little pop-up comes in and, your brain immediately goes like, oh, what just showed up? These are separated into several categories: strength, agility, spirit, technique, and charm. These are also gained from doing the same activities, but the type of thing you do dictates how much experience you get. So, for instance, say you get into a fight, you'll get more strength and technique orbs than you would charm. I'm not an expert at knowing these calculations or what everything can essentially go to, but some activities are easier than others. And if you're in Kiwami 2's case, then just eat a bunch of food and you'll get everything in the world in like 5 seconds. I don't mind the orb system, but I do like the traditional XP bar a lot more. It's a lot less convoluted than you might think, but I digress. It's time to get back to the plot. Once we get to Sotenbori, Daigo wants to take the night off because he's a bitch in his train lag or something, I don't know. After walking around and peacocking a guy's mom, yes, that's a real sentence I just said, we find ourselves eventually getting to the city's biggest club, the Grand. Guys, look, it's the funny big building. You know the one. We get there and have a whole little mini side tangent of getting special seats. Once up there, we overhear a conversation of some Yakuza, and one of them blindly mentions the Dragon of Kansai, a thing that angers everyone around them, except the girls. The biggest guy there, in a big brown coat, decides to tell everyone to calm down and ask his dumbass friend to repeat what he just said, assuring him that everything will be okay. The guy's not okay, obviously. Being upset by the name Dragon of Kansai, Kiryu steps up answering the guy's question. After a fight, we're properly introduced to this mysterious character. Meet Ryuji Goda, a high-ranking member of the Omi Alliance and the Dragon in question. He asks our name and then questions if we're the same Dragon of Dojima, Kazuma Kiryu. But we're able to debate him because, of course, we're developer of Metal Gear, Kazuma Kojima. He believes it insists on a drink, mansplaining that he wants the only dragon available. Full Highlander, basically. There can only be one. He then leaves giving a vague thread, only mentioning fireworks. Kiryu wonders what this means since New Year's isn't here yet and leaves. For some wandering around, we head to a giant flat screen and see what happened over in Tokyo, only to find that the Millennium Tower has been blown up! Again! 1 year, guys. You had one job, but alright. And hard cut to a new character introduction. Meet Kaoru Sayama, a lady with the Osakan police, known as the Yakuza Huntress, or Mommy to some of you degenerates. We see her arresting a guy and finding that her boss, Tsutsumu Besho, has been asked to take Kiryu in and protect him. Sayama insists on taking the job so she can investigate the area herself. Besho says no, and then says yes anyways. Persuasion 100. Good job. During all this, Kiryu and Daigo are heading to Omi headquarters, talk to the chairman and his cohorts, Jin Goda, Ryo Takashima, and Toronosuke Sengoku, respectively. Chairman Goda wants peace after hearing Terada's death, and after reading the letter to Kiryu, is super down to create a truce. The only one who doesn't budge is Sengoku, but he stands down like the punk he is. Not long after, Ryuji and his boys break in to mess up negotiations, creating tension, but Giga Chad Kiryu with Virgin Daigo take him on in order to give Goda time to escape. After a long escape from Omi HQ in the first Ryuji fight, the cops show up and take Kiryu in. Thank God he's not in trouble for one. We cut to Date walking in as a stage entrance claps. Wait, that didn't happen? I was just in my head? And... Alright, fine. Anyways, he bumps into a person who says she's a fan of Date's. At the office reveres him as a legend for what he did in the first game. Another new character walks up and calls him cringe. Date's taken down to a basement where a plan is discussed and his help is needed. They're under suspicion of Ryuji working with another group of criminals, and in order to find answers, Date needs to find Kazuki, the owner of the club Stardust. Enough of the boring cop stuff, we head to a car to see Kiryu the Rizzler as Sayama's driving them and then gets shot. She says to find a bar named Aoi. Funny, she's heard and it's called Aoi. I'm dumb. Fuck. That's objective number 1. After finding the place and escorting Sayama there, the lady watching over the place lets her rest and takes care of her. Killing some time and getting some bandages, we have a heart-to-heart with the old bag. This is Sayama's foster mom, close enough to be called a real mom, as the real one is missing or dead. Hearing this, Sayama tells her to shut the fuck up, and schemes with Kiryu to find the mystery assassino! Assassino! In order to do this, we gotta find a guy at a mahjong parlor. We find him and he tells us about a bullet that punctured Sayama. It came from Takashima, and a gun that could only be smuggled, something only a rat bastard can do. After some prying, we find now that Kiryu has 100 million bounty on his head, so good times all around. We beat up hired thugs and head back to Aoi. Sayama reveals that she wants to get close to the Tojo and find more about the Jingguan massacre that killed her mother. It's not explicitly said, but, we gotta save some time. We're on Yakuza 2 plot synopsis speedrun here, 80%. But she soon gets a call from Besho, who informs us that Daigo is incompetent and got kidnapped by some people who spoke in a weird tongue. So in order to save him and Goto, we gotta go to Kamurocho. Sayama tags along because he's a strong, independent woman who don't need no man. We're going back to save everyone. Now that we've been traveling between cities, I'm sure you've noticed some things about them. The fact that people on the street give you stuff to do. It's pretty good. These side quests are probably the best sorts of experience in the game besides story bosses and, again, eating in Kiwami 2's case. These side quests range from various things like helping some random person get mugged to helping a dominatrix on the street. I didn't do all of them in the original like I did with the first game, because, by the time I was writing this, it's like middle of October, and this is a long game, so I gotta get edited, now. And I started writing this, immediately after the last video, so, yeah. But from what I could tell, they were near identical, if not the same, between both the versions, which is kind of nice, actually. Some of them just happen or exist. Others really do stick in your mind. Like Mr. Try and Hit Me, a gimmick fight where a dude dodges around so quick and scams people out of his money. Or even 2 club-based minigames in the original. The first and more interesting is a place called Club Atom, over in the north part of Kamurocho, the hotel district. Here you can take on a job for Kiryu that allows him to become a host, which is a nice twist on the usual hostess minigame. It's still the same boring BS as that one, though. I like the idea of it, and it's surprised it hasn't returned since. The second is a club near the parking lot of Shichifuku, approximately around here, for those who don't know what the hell street names are like I do. Here you gain ownership of a hostess club where you have to manage it and get to the best club in town. This sounds interesting, and there's a thing like this in Kiwami 2, but hold your horses. This is more in line with the minigames that show up in Yakuza 3 and 4, and for those who played those, it's essentially the same thing. You recruit girls, have conversations to keep their spirits up, get various items to improve the club, and fix customer complaints. I really recommend using a guide for this. I actually ended up soft-locking myself out of progressing this any further by getting things done more quickly and buying the wrong item. In fact, I used a guide for all the side quests, because some of them don't even really tell you. But certain things will change depending on which version you're playing. Not by much, but it does help. You want Kiwami 2, they brought back the cabaret management from Yakuza 0. You run a club, talk to girls, keep the spirits up, do various tests to improve the club and customer complaints. Wait, hang on, didn't I just talk about this? Oh, wait, right, yeah, this plays like Diner Dash, and it's real fun once you learn it. I explained this more in my Yakuza 0 video a couple years back, so, you should probably go watch that, or, watch someone smarter than me with a more comprehensive guide. But like, you should probably go watch my thing anyways. You should probably just go watch any of my videos, just saying. They're nice little non-sequitur things to do around both cities. Which, speaking of which, time for another minigame lightning round, because I won't get a chance to mention it again. I'll only mention the new ones, or the ones left out of Kiwami, but in the original. Just because, let's be real. A lot of the minigames are basically the same. Just throughout the games. They just keep translating them over. So it's no use mentioning them every time. So we got a driving range, but in golf in every way. A game where you take photos of real-life sexy ladies. Okay then. Majima's Tower Defense, an idea brought over from 6, and it's boring here and it's boring there too. Challenge pissing. That's right, challenge pissing. You got Virtua Fighter 2, Virtua On. Yes, these are real-life Sega arcade games. Karaoke and Kiwami 2 only. Technically not a minigame, but bouncer missions in Club Deborah. These are just a series of fights with various effects. They are hit or miss. And YF6, which is this weird first-person Tron-esque fighting game only in Yakuza 2 original. And I guess from that point, that should cover all side activities. They're nice little nothings, but to be honest, even if you don't care, it's crazy that they have this and a million other things to do per game. It's even more impressive when you realize that these are basically PS2 games. The fact that they had so much in them is astounding. I'd love to see how a studio can reuse things and nobody minds it like some other series. And now for something completely different. When we get back to Kamurocho, Sayama passes out and Kiryu in his infinite riz carries her away to get busy! I'm gonna sex you up. Which is what I would say if this was a true story, but no, we just get to Sereno, which is closed down now for some strange reason. I guess it never found a new owner or even renovated. We could just break in, because why not? Who cares? We go around exploring and get a call from Kashiwagi. We're told to come to Tojo HQ in order to find Daigo. We then skip a step and find out where he is, but go to the Tojo anyway to formulate a plan. Going in half-cocked never works in this series, and they do it all the time. When there, we tell all the details we know before Nishiki's biggest dick rider speaks up. This is Koji Shindo, a dirtbag who respected him, even though Nishiki turned redcoat against the entire clan. Yet him and what remains of the family still respect the guy to this day, despite him being dead. After Shindo leaves, go change his diaper, Yayoi takes us for a sidebar, giving us a key to unlock a secret room with stuff to help us stop whatever is about to break loose with the Omi, and now the Nishiki family, and this new foreign group. Kiryu finds a dagger inside this room. Knowing full well who it belongs to, we gotta head to Purgatory. Once we get back to the city, Sayama calls us, pissed that we left, but Kiryu shoots that down like, what, you want me to carry you? Yeah, sure. And returns being asked to bring a pack of underwear and a beer. Kiryu gets embarrassed in the presence of a naked girl, being our perfect virgin boy and a perfect representation of real-life Yakuza fans. And he confronts Sayama on the conversation she had back at Aoi. They have a heart-to-heart about losing their parents to the Tojo in one way or another. But who needs human interaction? It's Majiman time, baby! We get to Purgatory, or at least the entrance, and find out that not only has he taken it over, willingly mind you, but he's taken on a construction project as a bit of a front, almost. But he kinda does want to build this place as well. Meanwhile, the florist is up in the Millennium Tower working for the police again. Sure. There was no indication of him ever doing that, but, I mean, if you want to make that money, sure, go ahead. I won't judge you. And then, if we want Majima on our side, we gotta do it the only way he knows how. In style! So after knocking some heads, Majima agrees to join and informs us that things are a bit off. telling us that with Terada in control, the Omi didn't really do anything till recently. Kashiwagi got the boot not long after, in terms of, respect and power, leading to Majima leaving too. He informs Kiryu that it's okay to trust people, but you gotta watch out. After what happened last time, yeah, I think that rings true. All too true. We head back to Serena and allow Sayama to essentially tail us and learn about the past. Kiryu regrets his time in the Yakuza, so at this point, he just says, fuck it, follow me, and if something happens, you can shoot me. And they're off. Before that, though, we see Date and Kawara go to Stardust to inform Kazuki on what's going on regarding this foreign group and the tower bombing, warning him that they want to catch any illegals and that he could be targeted nonetheless. Date doesn't believe the suspicion, but Kawara was right as some guys start running out of the club. Kiryu and Sayama just happen to be passing by. Yuya stops them to tell him info they probably already know. So we head to the Amano building, which is now abandoned and houses one of the most annoying fights in the series. If you're playing Kiwami, that is. Outside of that, it's just more fighting and not really that bad. Once we get to the roof, we get into a standoff between Date, Kawari, Kazuki, and... Wait. There's two of them?! Yep, one of them's actually a Korean spy. This was a try to kill everyone, shooting both Kazuki and Kawara in the process. Then, through a stroke of luck, Sayama shows up and kills the sus imposter. After engaging in Metal Kiryu Solid and getting the doctor's office from Yakuza 1, which you never would have known existed because it was only in a side quest, which yes, they are canon to an extent, Date takes us to Banta to talk privately. We exchange the info we know and tells us more about Kawara, mainly how he shot a bunch of dudes under suspicion because he could, giving him the nickname Killer Kawara. Pfft, only pussies get nicknames. Anyways, we head back to pick up Mommy Kaoru, because you can't keep us chained and watch us for 5 minutes. God, I wish that were me. And when we arrive, some Korean muscle shows up, punching the wife, and Kiryu white knights all over these dudes. We're then informed of the Jingguan Mafia being involved, and reconvene to find that they weren't only after Kazuki, but now Kiryu and Sayama too. That son of a bitch bartender, I trusted you, and you gave me this! But don't worry, he's just down on his luck, so all's forgiven, as Japanese storytelling goes. Date then gets caught in 4K, and so he has to fuck off. Now we gotta visit the only person we know who can track down Daigo. Cause yeah, remember, we're still looking for him. This time, without a final boss, we go up the Millennium Tower and pay the florist a visit for some answers. But before those answers are revealed, power goes out because convenience. Turns out, it's Hayashi. Yeah, you remember the guy who wanted to
kill this arrogant motherfucker?
Yeah, that dude. Anyways, Daigo's being held in Shangri-La, that place Majima destroyed last year with the truck. Now, there's something I want to talk about here, especially with the Hayashi fight. The way they change things up with these fights, or even moments, specifically. So not to say the game is easy, but Kiwami 2 is kind of easy. Even when I did most of the side activities in the original, I still had some issues towards the end. It relies more on skill than it does strength of your hits. This is most exemplified with the almighty Tiger Drop. This thing melts health bars like nobody's business. The issue with it is, while it's fun, absolutely breaks the game. Now what does this have to do with Hayashi? Well, this trivializes how much skill this fight's supposed to be. Mans apparently has more health than the final boss itself, which I find hilarious. Though with the Tiger Drop, the fight's over in 2 seconds. So you don't really get to experience everything as it should. Yes, this is more prevalent in New Game Plus, but my point still stands. Hayashi also seems to have a longer range when he transitions to a second phase. I went back and looked at the footage and... yeah, kinda. Not to mention the music being completely replaced in the remake. In fact, to my knowledge, most of the boss music's replaced in the remake. Put with a nearly universal boss track. It just feels off and loses the uniqueness. Especially considering that most of the other music in the game is well intact. And it doesn't really change much, thank God. I just really love the bosses in the original because they truly feel like endurance matches. You know, fighting for your life. Combined with the crunch of the OG sound design and how combos work, it delivers an experience that I came to adore, actually. And the final thing I noticed regarding bosses that most of the time, as it should be, the feel the heat gauge shows up near the end, at least of the fight or a phase, as it should. This doesn't happen often, but having it in the middle of a fight defeats the purpose of it even being here. There's a real great video I watched by someone named Dillion T talking about what the Hayashi fight does right, and it kind of inspired me to talk about this section. So if a chance the person comes across this video, hi, sorry I stole your talking points, but it was a good thing to talk about. I really like it. Anyways, rant over. I really just wanted to talk about that. I don't know. I thought it was fun. Anyways, meanwhile, back at the plot, we save Daigo, reconvene, and then Kashiwagi conveniently shows up and explains properly the Jingguan Master about how it was something that Dojima ordered Shimano and Kazuma to do for power, especially since the Jingguan were super powerful at the time. And because of what happened, the Dojima family rose to power, and the Koreans were seemingly wiped out. Everyone confused about the situation is determined to find the answers they're looking for. Our only real lead being a detective that worked on the case, which nobody knows the name of. Before we do that, we gotta pay our respects to Terada, since they finally found the time to hold the funeral for him. Which actually makes a lot of sense, considering all this is happening so rapid-fired. Okay. Only for things to get interrupted by some shits from the Goryu clan. You know, the dudes Ryuji controls. After taking out Mooks, Ryuji himself shows up, not looking to start shit. He comes for one, to apologize, and then pay his respects for something Terada did for him. He of course does as Ryuji does, ruffling our feathers, and then leaves. Spouting stuff about parents and their kids not being worth a damn, and that we have 3 days to live. In a rather ominous way, too. We then got cut to one of the most badass scenes ever conceived as helicopters hover over the city as some of Sengoku's men walk the street, raise hell, only for the city's last line of defense, Majima, shows up when he's ready to ride or die on this one. He don't give a shit. He's ready to tear everyone down. We make our way back to the city, and Majima does the whole fake dying thing, telling us we need to head back to the Tojo HQ because it was all a trap to lead us away from Tojo HQ and to eventually take it over. We get back and find newly titled MILF Hunter Shindo, as they're calling the shots, has been working under Sengoku's payroll, selling us out not for the money, but literally for some pussy. I wish that was a joke. He even brings up the fact that Kiryu and Nishi fought and thinks us fighting was because Yumi and the whole reason that the events of the first game happened. And that's really funny because I found that wrong, and that's kind of a side note, but it works for a sick mindset, you know, a real twist in morality there. After probably one of my favorite fights in the game, Daigo shoots Shindo when he comes back for round 2. Everyone laments how they couldn't see it coming. During all this, Date continued his investigation, despite being on the run for all that he did. Finds out both Kawara and Basho from Osako were part of the original case. Well, it's time to get some answers and go back to Kansai. And yes, I am skipping over the thing with Takashi, so nobody say anything about it. It's filler, let's be real. But it is the last time that we ever get any indication of the florist and his son, and we never get anything about that again, which is bizarre. We get a talk with Besho, and he denies everything at first, but then reveals a survivor named Murai, as well as 2 others existing. Only to then take Kaoru off the case, leaving her copy mommy to store out in a baby gamer rage. Kiryu tries to question Besho, but gets shrugged off and is told to babysit her. Once we find her, she's getting jumped by some douchebags on a bridge. But of course, we beat him up, in typical man fashion. The local police then shut up, and we go on the run for a bit. After losing them, Kaoru decides to ask us to have some fun, and Kiryu's ready to get his dick wet. Despite the joke, can we just talk about this for a second? Because I feel it's more important than most would think. Yeah, it's cute that Kiryu and Kaoru are out on a little date. It's important because it's probably the only one he's been on canonically. But it's also the first woman Kiryu's been with since Yumi. Not only is that important from a romance standpoint, but from a character one. Kiryu finally found someone that isn't Haruka, mind you, that he can be a little vulnerable with. Especially after what happened. Not even his friends like Date, Yuya, the doctor, I don't know, fucking anyone I feel he can just be himself around with, and that's nice. Plus, Kiryu just needs to relax every once in a while. He never gets any kind of relaxation. Jesus. To see him wind down, it's really heartwarming, and nobody brings it up. Anyway, rant over, and now we're on a roof as the two drink and they bond over feelings and be edgy like, no one will understand my feelings and someday someone will understand them, just not me. Then Kiryu tells Kaoru they're going to meet a guy at a shogi place tomorrow to get some rest. After being rejected by the Rizzler at Dojima, Kaoru still thanks Kiryu for the night, leaves, and our boy goes out to presumably get more tail. Not getting any tail, he comes across a tattoo artist, almost throwing away his work. This is Kazuhori IV. He's another master of the ink, like Kiryu's guy, Udabori II. One of the designs, considered a family treasure, gets stolen by some punk student of his, and we get it back. The design has Akina, his star pupil. Feel like it's a mistake since it's the same dragon Ryuji dons. Considering what he's done, she doesn't want to be the next successor. And there, I just saved you 10-20 minutes of fights and cutscenes. It's still semi-important, just like the tattoo scene from the first. Next chapter starts and we meet up with Kaoru before setting off to see Mirai. She contemplates if she's one of the remaining survivors, then shrugs it off like it's nothing, because the fact that her parents died around the same time is too coincidental. And we're off. This is where things deviate from the original a tiny bit, so I'll be following the route of the original in this case. So just bear with me. We go to a place called Shinseicho, which, for those who don't know, is another part of Osaka, based on a place I've never heard of called Shinsenkai. Yeah, Shinsekai. Anyways, to get to Mirai, we go through a wild goose chase, including cheating at shogi with my phone, going the Sutenkaku Tower, and then we go to an underground shogi parlor called Keima, where Mirai's at. He talks to us about a shogi match from the past, giving us answers, and tells us the name of the other survivors, being Daijin Kim and Youngmin Ji. Again, sorry for the butchery of names, but Korean is tough. He also reveals that there are 2 more survivors, that being the Jingwon boss's wife and her child, being Kaoru. The whole incident took place on Christmas, and Kiryu, piecing things together, realizes that it was Kazuma who killed a bunch of people there. Okay, sure. And by coincidence, Kiryu was there? Because how else would he know? Sure. Yeah, just have him there. Why not? Before they can get more answers, members of the Jingguan barge in and start trying to kill Mirai. Kiryu then grabs one of the guys, asking where Chairman Goda is. Not getting answers, beats him up and tries again. Still not getting answers. One of the stragglers kills Mirai, and then another just takes poison. Because of course. Kiryu tries to talk to Kaoru, but she's understandably upset after what she just learned and walks off. By the way, if you're doing this in Kiwami 2, this takes place within Sotenbori itself. Down near the bottom of the map, near the Four Shine Club, as it's showed on the map here. The events happen just the same, it just removed an entire city that was modeled, but it's no big deal. I personally don't care, but it's kind of a neat city. When we get back, Kiryu tells us everything he knows. So basically, Kiryu went to Kamurocho because around the time his daddy didn't come back to get the milk for Sunflower Orphanage, decided to follow the car they were in. He saw Cosmo being held at gunpoint as him a ward in the Jingguan to get out of there before things went from bad to worse. Thinking he was in danger, Kiryu rushed in with a metal pipe, almost getting himself killed in the process. Nice job, idiot. And then stays there and watches more people get murdered. Over the years, Kiryu's felt responsible for this and kind of kept the guilt hidden. Kaoru was understandably pissed that his information was withheld from basically everyone. I mean, I was confused by this too, but they just move on like nothing happens, I guess. Kiryu then sits there, smokes, and gets stabbed, as you either listen to J-pop or well, actually, yeah, no, it's two different varieties of J-pop, depending on which version you're playing. But after he gets stabbed, cutscene damage happens, and we have to rush to Aoi, because that's the only place we can get treated from. Apparently poison. Sure. We awoke several hours later in a daze, and found a note in our pocket that says Sengoku's kidnapped Haruka. There was a cutscene showing it, but we gotta save time here. You know, we're now several minutes in this video. Anyways, we run around to find whatever info we can, end up fighting a bunch of hired goons. We go find Isaki, the guy from the mahjong place. And once we beat him down, we're told that Sengoku's at a place called Osaka Castle, and that Isaki's basically dead at this point. Oh well, we get there, and by some logic, the building splits in two, lowers to the ground, and reveals a second building made of entirely gold hidden underneath. Peak fiction. Anyways, another big long fight's here, and as we get to the top, we find Haruka and two tigers. Okay. As if Kiryu wasn't badass enough. After beating Sengoku's little babies, he runs away like a coward, only to find that Ryuji's waiting up in his office. Somehow. He murks Sengoku because he's no longer of use to his plan, leaving telling Kiryu that the final part of his plan is set in motion tomorrow, and the invasion of Kamurocho starts then. Kiryu apologizes for getting Haruka involved again, and then dies of cringe, I guess. Suddenly, Kaoru, using instant transmission, gets to Kiryu and carries him out. We also see Kawara lurking around. Because I have no explanation for this. But we're almost done, I promise. Chapter 16 of 16. Oh god, there's still 3 chapters left. Ah! Anyways, we regroup at Aoi, off-screen. The lady who ran the place left a note for Kaoru, detailing that her father is still alive and not to be mad at Kiryu. She needs answers and goes out to look for it. Meanwhile, we go out on a long journey with Haruka with something that won't kind of pay off till Yakuza 5, oddly enough. It's filler, so we skip. Anyways, once we're done, we get a call that Kurahashi has taken Date hostage, and that he is a Young Minji. Kurahashi is a cop, essentially. He's hiding in the Millennium Tower, so yeah, it's best to head there immediately. Not before we get into a fight on some trucks. Once we get to Kamurocho, we leave Haruka at Serena and finally go to where we need to go. Once there, we find out Kawara is actually Kaoru's dad, and he and Kaoru's mom had a little relationship post-massacre. Wow, post-massacre? Okay, yeah, that sounds weird without context. Anyways, Kawara's dead, Kurahashi's dead, we find out the Jingguan killed Kaoru's mom, Suyeon, and all the men that Kawara killed was for both his wife and child to live peacefully. While before Kaoru was storming out learning this, she's more relieved knowing where she's from, and I guess it's also from all the emotions that are happening right now as well. Oh, and Kaoru also has a brother! Wow, that's a lot to unpack, my god. We're finally in endgame territory as Ryuji and the Goryu are mobilizing. Takashima, who we haven't seen since the beginning of the game, has a plan, and Date has some information that can help out greatly. Only Kaoru can handle the task of decoding the file. She seems a bit out of it. It's not like she just had a life-shaking revelation and her dad was shot or anything. Nah, there's no way that's why. Either way, we find her at Serena and she doesn't know what to do, feeling a bit lost and confused after everything that happened. Kiryu assures that she'll be okay and gives her a big snappy kiss. Riz 100. And with a newfound confidence from Kiryu's manly actions, she's ready to face whatever and heads back to Osaka. And apparently Kazuki, who's been MIA for like half the game, finally wakes up. He tells us that the Jingguan is going to destroy the city! Fuck! They got bombs rigged around the entirety of Kamurocho somehow. 33 to coincide with the massacre itself. So now it's time for Kiryu to defuse them all! Nah, Date and his bomb squad got it handled. We're going to ask the Toja for help though. Daigo, taking the only stand for the clan in the entire series, no, that's not a joke, volunteers to command an army of 300 to protect the city from the Goryu. Kiryu heads to Purgatory to find more on the bombs. We regroup with Date in a panic, wondering how the hell we're gonna find them all. Then the goat appears, taking us down below because he kept the floor assault surveillance system, and now we know where everything is. As we leave, we get calls from the bartender at Bantam, Dakimoto, and Yuya. They're all being attacked by the Goryu at the same time, so we gotta help them. The only cutscenes that happen is at Stardust, where the whole time Ryuji was just watching us fight goons, only to say, Nah, I'm not gonna kill you. This isn't worth my pride. And then dips, saying that he isn't working with the Jingguan and is gonna wait somewhere to finally beat us down. We then get the funny Majimba of defusing a bomb before cutting to Kaoru waking up from a dream of Majima doing something stupid because... Well, actually, just because it's funny. I don't even think she knew Majima's existence, now that I think about it. But she's finally cracked the code and found out some major details we won't truly learn till later. We head to Purgatory to see that Majima's still alive by pure dumbassery and get some time with Haruka. Here you can do a side quest or wait an incredibly long amount of time, which I waited to see how long. It was only about 30 minutes. But if you do the mission, that's a follow-up to the one from Yakuza 1 where the guy wanted to jump off a roof and kill himself. Date will call you immediately. After that's done, we meet him at Serena and Pseudo's there. Yeah, remember Pseudo? Probably not, but the game won't remind you, so you better have a memory the size of Akiyama's vault. Oh, wait a minute, I can't talk about that yet. Anyways, we find Kaoru and Ryuji share the same mother, which raises complications amongst all this. Kiryu wants to find Ryuji, but Kaoru's like, hold up, you ain't going nowhere. You're still under my watch. Even though the last chapter I said you don't need to be in my custody anymore, but let's not bring up that line at all. But who cares? Hot Beshos in your area want to meet you! So we gotta have another talk with him in the archive room, since he's in town. We go there and find out this is a lie, and kinda not a well-hidden one at all. All we're left with is a video Kaoru made, basically detailing Last Will and Testament as she tricked Kiryu and Date to go chase her brother herself, thinking she'll die in the process. Thanking Kiryu for the time they had together, regretting the fact that things got so far in a general sense. You know, regarding the entire investigation and, you know, the one night they spent. Kiryu does the funny meme, and we leave to face the final bosses, and man, this is going to be a doozy, so strap yourselves in. Buckle your fuckles. Kiryu goes after Kaoru to Kamurocho Hills, in a long battle there and to the top. When we arrive, we find Kaoru and Ryuji having a standoff of sorts. We find out Chairman Goto's okay, and then start to have a talk. The sibling reveal happens for everyone. Here, Goto says that he took in Ryuji to help the mom be somewhat normal and safe from any kind of criminal. Ryuji doesn't care about familial bonds. His lone wolf personality and pride as a man and a Yakuza won't allow that. Although he says they never worked together with the Jingguan and revenge wasn't the goal. Their ideals just happened to align. Kiryu then gives Ryuji a speech about being a man as the two prepare for their second actual fight. After the two tough it out, Ryuji falls to the ground like a punk, and Chairman Goto is saddened, but relieved to have this settled, and offers to go to prison. But before that, guess who shows up? Let's play a game here. Who does show up? Is it A, Daigo, B, Takashima, C, Pseudo, or D, Hirata? I'll give you guys a second to guess. Okay, time's up. If you guess D, then you surely know how fucking stupid this is. So yeah, Terada's death was all part of a plan to take over Kamurocho, using Ryuji as a pawn, essentially. You know, to get rid of us and any other people in the way. He's also the final survivor, Daijin Kim. Homeboy's gonna blow up the city with a bomb he has up here. Kiryu's understandably confused on why Terada would plot this. He reminds Terada of how Kazuma saved him back during the raid, because if he didn't, Shimano would have capped him in an instant. It's kind of bizarre that they never mentioned this before now, but whatever, the whole flashback thing has been like that, so I'm kind of numb to it at this point. Not the worst plot point, but it's odd that it happened. Anyways, Kiryu's still upset that Terada would do this, but Terada don't give a damn, because this is how the Jingguan are. They'll push their own grandma down the stairs if it meant getting rid of anyone out of the way. And while the fight with Terada and his goons, that's pretty easy if you have the gun counter. All seems well before Kiryu gets shot by, now it's Takashima! Red herring from me, you nerds! He was working with Terada the whole time, I guess. Plotting out the course of events this whole time just because his goals align with the Jingguan as well. He pulls a Vegeta not having a use for Koreans who can't fight, killing Terada, as well as Chairman Goda. Now in death with his final breath, Terada activates the bomb and is going to blow it up in 9.5 minutes. Everyone tries to go on the offensive, but it's all useless. Kiryu with gun in hand can't shoot because he has a boner for Kaoru and it's way too strong. Battery doesn't want to see any more people die. Honestly, I can't tell anymore. Then Ryuji wakes up and completely obliterates Takashima, taking a bunch of shots like a champ, just bang, 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 bang. He then shoots and says, "Yeah, you never had a chance, bro. Die, lol." Kiryu reading the room, him and Ryuji know this is the perfect place to settle things once and for all. Never mind the bomb, guys. Men have to be men here. And honestly, one of the best final bosses in the series happens. This is so badass, and the setup's absolute peak. Kaoru's screaming for her brother and the man she loves not to fight, and because she doesn't want to lose either of them. But neither will listen. Two opposite ends of the same coin are here to slug it out after all the hardship, heartache, and every emotion mixed in between. Accompanied by one of the greatest tracks in the series, in my opinion. It's all good. Once that piano starts kicking in, oh, you know it's going to be a good time. And it's definitely the best boss in the game. Shoot, this might be one of my favorite fights of all time, and that says a lot. You know, it's just that good. I'm not crying at men fighting. You're crying! Anyways, Ryuji sustaining enough damage dies in Kaoru's arms as he asks her questions about their mom. Getting one last look at Kaoru's face, he dies with a smile, thinking what would have happened if he knew the truth sooner. An actual tragic death, and they don't completely try to redeem him. Rare for the series and much appreciated, so don't get used to it, because it never happens again! As the bomb's got 2 minutes left, Kiryu collapses as him and his new cop GF start making out, embracing death, ignoring Date's help with the helicopter. As it then implies, they don't make it, but as long as they're happy, then that's all they care about. Oh yeah, and don't worry about Haruka's well-being, because she'll be okay as just a single orphan. The one time she was left without Kiryu or anyone, nothing went wrong. Anyways, the bomb goes off, and everyone waits and sees. Then, credits. Yeah, going through the credits, we find out that the bomb was a dud. Kiryu, Haruka, Date, and Kaoru visit Terada's grave. Now they can all live happily for 3 years before Yakuza 3 takes place, and nothing happens to any of these characters again. The end. Now, originally there was going to be a section after this about the Majima saga, but I really don't have much else to say about it. It's very interesting of events that happened. I won't say anything, because if you haven't played Zero, you should probably play that before you play the Majima saga. But it's a neat little thing that explains what happens in between the first and second game. And now it's the end, I promise. Honestly, after replaying the original for the sake of this video, it's kind of amazing that they recreated it so faithfully. And even looking back on my playthrough of Kiwami, I didn't get a chance to replay it like I did a little bit last year. I don't know, it's something magical, you know, when you think about it. It does have a lot of story issues, I will admit, and when they're there, they are there. But I'd say that this is still one of the most, like, coherent stories that the series got to offer. You know what I mean? It's such a miracle that they did things near perfectly, I would argue. Not to say that down the line it just gets worse, but, you know, I feel like they try a little bit too much in certain aspects and too little in others. You read me? Even outside of that, it's amazing that they made, you know, the best villain in the series. I'd really say that Ryuji's probably my favorite, at least. He's such an asshole. But that's why I love him. You know, they don't try and, like, dehumanize him. You know, they don't try and redeem him. He is just a rat bastard. The entire time. And even other little character things, you know, I don't really mind it, but some of them do get on my nerves, but, I mean, I think it works, you know, people have flaws, characters have flaws, yada yada, whatever. Outside of that, I really do love this game, and I love all that it really encapsulates for what's to come down the line, you know? I'm glad that I got to do another review of these games, and it's going to be about another year till the next one, because, you know, yearly thing, gotta make it special. Anyways, in that meantime, at the time of recording this, Gaiden's out, so I'm probably going to go play a bit of that, so bye-bye.